Okay, this is vital to one's health and needs to be addressed. The internet is a buzz right now with people telling you to go on a fruit cleanse. And I don't disagree with the fruit cleanse. However, and the example I'm going to use here, this guy is probably one of my favorite fucking sources of information in terms of this jazz online. Somebody who's honest. At least I think he's honest. Raw Maraby, R-A-W, one word, M-A-R-A-B-Y, M-A-R-B-Y, if I spelled it right, maybe I left out an A. You guys could figure it out. Hold on, I gotta figure this out too. Actually got an avocado and I think I can eat it today, which is good, because it's relevant to what I'm complaining about. Bear with me, I'm a sweaty mess and a fucking wreck trying to figure things out, and no one I talk to is helpful. You're gonna run into, I think anybody's gonna run into this. I think this is why people die half the fucking time when they don't need to. This is just one example, mind you. So fruit cleanses. Oh, and by the way, Barbara O'Neill is currently telling people not to eat fruit if you have, think of the fourth house in terms of the astrological system. It's a 6 and a fucking 9, because if I say the words on the internet, it will probably be flagged as medical misinformation, because Nazis run all of these social engineering platforms. Sweating bullets. So what you need to think of is an index, or you need to think in terms of a spectrum. And what you need to think of is blood clots on one side, and really, really thin, snickus, snot, fucking oatmeal blood on the other side. Damn, I'm fucking wiped out. Raw Maraby will tell you to go on a dark grape cleanse, which isn't a bad idea necessarily. But if you're an alcoholic, it's a horrible idea. Here's some dark grapes. You probably don't want to do that with the grapes. You probably want to use other fruits if you're an alcoholic, because your body's not producing vitamin K, which means if you get a wound, you may bleed out and you may bleed to death. Well, bleed out, same difference. And this is important. It's very, very fucking important. Just for a bit of morale, I picked these up from Trader Joe's. It's supposed to be a health food store. Most of the food in the store is genetically modified poison. This is Trader Joe's brand, which means it's probably not organic. What got me is, this is usually good for you, and it says there's 70% in there. But this was an impulse buy, and this, in fact, will cause more bleeding. It won't clot your blood. Oh, so I don't think I'm an alcoholic, but what I did do, that's what an alcoholic would say. I don't have enough vitamin K in my bloodstream right now, which means my blood is slick as snot and oatmeal right now. Yesterday, they took some labs and I didn't realize it, but I was bleeding everywhere. I bled everywhere. Snuck up on me while I was trying to give a urine sample. And I was already out of sorts. It was funny, but I didn't get any on the floor or anything. It was just on myself, and I cleaned it up. But that's how I figured that out. I don't know if I think I already recorded another video having to do with this too. Yeah, because the ER docs, they were like, "You're fine, dude. You're healthy enough. You're not dead. Everything's cool." But in terms of these little spectrums, and maybe I'll screen record a video if I decide to post this to the internet. I probably should stop fucking ranting because I'm going too fast, and that just makes the blood pump more. On one side of the spectrum, that's where it's telling me that I'm still in the green area. I'm still good. I'm still healthy, but I am on the cusp of that, which means that's why I bled out. Which means I need vitamin K, and no one there told me, hey, you need some vitamin K. There was another gentleman in there, and he was suffering profuse bleeding from the nose. That's a weird way to put it, but he was bleeding profusely from his nose, and it was happening regularly. That could be a number of things. I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but if he is bleeding often, it's also likely that he's not getting enough vitamin K. I'm not a doctor, and I wasn't about to interject in a fucking emergency room. but I wanted to. But it wasn't my place, so I butted my lip. And I don't know for sure, so I kept my fucking mouth shut because I don't fucking know in his case. Um, yeah. In my case, I'm pretty fucking sure my protein levels are dismal, and I need to bring that up, which is also contributing to this. That's also what's causing fatigue, and this is because I was going on a fucking wicked fast with fruits and all that other stuff, which people do. And again, you got to know your body and you got to know your limitations. Guys can go on a fast longer than gals. It's not me knocking the opposite sex, but that is how it fucking works because girls have a menstrual cycle. And there's a difference between guys and gals. It's a binary system in case you're a fucking retard and you've bought into something that doesn't reflect reality and you're too stupid to think about what you can observe, in terms of replicable, evidence-based research, shit that reflects reality. Maybe I'll babble about some more here in a second. So if you're going to go on a fucking fruit cleanse, you need to look up the fruits and you need to figure out which side of the spectrum they're on. You need to gauge your body and or go in for fucking labs. The thing that you're going to look for, it's not called blood clotting. It's not called, slick as snot oatmeal blood. I think it's under the banner here in the States, or at least, the Northwest, as I think it's INR, I think is what it is, which is fucking stupid to me. But these things are by design. Earlier, I was going to record a long video about how cool my dad is because he was a flight mechanic most of his life, helicopters and what have you. He was a paramedic in Nam and a volunteer firefighter while he was doing other shit, while he was raising us, my sister and I. The reason I mention this is when they started putting computer chips in cars, he complained about it. And first, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, cool, computers in cars. And he said, no, it's fucking stupid. Because it takes him and other people out of the equation. It takes anybody who's willing to think for themselves out of the equation to where you can't fix your fucking car. And it puts a middleman, an extra step, a third party in there. Not unlike unconstitutional taxes or taxation. It's something that shouldn't exist. But now we have that and electric cars, which don't start in the winter, they charge too long, and they're fucking garbage. But people are stupid, so they exist. So, why was I complaining about this? I had it a minute ago. Oh, so the medical terminology, the jargon. It doesn't tell you this has to do with blood clots, blah, 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 blah. Because you're not a doctor. You're not a healthcare professional. At least today we do have tools at our disposal where we can look this up using the DARPA internet, our master's internet. So that option's still available to us. But it's in place to fuck us up. It's in place to make us feel dumb, make things more confusing than they need to be, etc., etc., etc. The one thing I will say about the, and I might be mixing up what the 3 letters are. I don't remember offhand. I know the protein thing had to do with something that sounded like lymph, I think, like an LYM, either way. And the other one was 3 letters, I'm pretty sure. I think it was INR or something like that, either way. There was a little sub-bar beneath it, and it did say having to do with heart valves. And it means too much blood's pumping through at a very accelerated rate, pardon me. And that's part of what I'm dealing with right now. So what did I do? I ate some broccoli last night. I let myself eat some chicken even though I've got some high cholesterol. It's not that high, but it's over 200. Supposedly in the old days, it used to be up to 300 that used to be considered healthy, but Western diets are shit. And yeah, maybe that's also either way. So I ate some protein, broccoli, what have you. Today I picked up some arugula. I got some lentils. These are all fairly high in vitamin K, mind you. Now, this is a tricky thing. I'm a Pisces, so in terms of the astrological houses again, Pisces usually tend to lean into excess. So now what I got to make sure I don't do is take that bar, miss the middle mark, and balance, which would have to do with Libra and the scales, the opposite side of Pisces, crudely speaking. Pisces is more in line with sunrise and the ascendant, and Libra is more so in line with the descendant, and sunset, crudely speaking. They're not quite diametrically opposed, but they are on opposite sides, just to appreciate this. Because you could think of that in terms of this bar that I'm talking about. And if I do it too much and I take too much vitamin K, that's going to cause a fucking blood clot. And since my body's already wonky, I really got to have some finesse in there. There needs to be a measure of grace. And then I need to maintain it through routine, which is also something Pisces aren't very good at. At least I'm not. Some things I can knock out if I enjoy it, but if I don't enjoy it, routine is one of my least favorite things. It's up there with talking about jobs, our master's jobs that we have to do to pay bills. Shit like that. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? If you guys sat through this, I hope some of it helps. It's something people should be talking about, since a lot of people are telling you to go on a fucking 30 to 60 day fruit fast. Some people are also being sweet about it, and they're saying, start out slow, intermittently fast, work up to it. And that's what I did with part of it. Another part of it, I did just throw myself into it. Pisces. You guys really got to tread lightly. And if you're just doing a regular old, what people were calling parasite cleanses, or fill in the fucking blank, if you're just trying to keep your body working at optimal capacity, you still need to do that, because you never know. It might trip you up. It's not like, what should I say? I got a quarter Sioux in me. And I wasn't sure when I moved to the Northwest how it would affect me down the line. And for years in Portland, we didn't get that much sunshine. We sure as shit didn't have fucking hot as Hades heat waves. But now we do. And when I first went out and I first started skateboarding, I was sweating bullets. I was also terribly fucking unhealthy. But it kicked my ass. But what I was wondering is, would I tan? I mean, this is my stupid fucking tan lines. I still tan like I used to in the desert. My sister and I are adopted, and my mom, growing up with her, she used to always be pretty proud that both of us would tan. She's like, oh, my baby's tan so well. My sister's part Mexican, so that's part of it. And I attribute it to being a quarter Sioux. You never know. Maybe it's just because I was accustomed, to living in the fucking desert. It's high desert, but we still had, a lot of sunshine. And now it's worse than ever from what I gather back home. Either way. So what I'm getting at is, what are you genetically predisposed to? And this does have to do with, again, a spectrum. Do you have less melanin in your skin? Are you white? Crudely speaking, it's the scale of brown is how some people are talking about it online, and that's not far from the mark. It's closer than what people usually talk about. But then you could think of it as the monad, and the flip side of the monad as well. You could say black and then the white, And in this case, you're born somewhere on that spectrum. You don't get to choose. So when you're out there in the sun, it's going to affect you to a degree. I mean, you're not going to fucking tan, really. It's not going to do too much to you. Or at least not visibly. It's not going to be visible. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm probably just babbling. Again, tread lightly. Be careful if you go on the fruit cleanses. I should digress and shut the fuck up. Thanks for hanging out. So in terms of health, I'm not done yet, as usual. And I'm thinking about 50 fucking things now. God damn it. Too many things. Bear with me. I'm also trying to put on pants. Don't worry, I have boxers on internet. Yeah, they peddle flesh, but they censor assholes like me for doing next to nothing. Pardon the eczema. So, ASL sign language, it got me thinking about this. And it got me thinking about girlfriends and ethnicities and all of this stuff, because I was talking about a spectrum. But in sign language, this is like a rock, so to speak, or the anchor. And if you do this and you swoop around and you come back and you touch it like that, that's nation. But if I were to, and I think it's like this, I think you kind of do something along that. That's rock. But if you do something along these lines, I forget some of it. I think this is potato. So if you do that one time in a round, that's Potato Nation, which is Ireland. I shit you not. If you take this and you bonk it, you take it up to your third eye and you bump this against it twice, it looks like a horn and it looks like Nazi helmets. Some of these used to be iconic. There are new signs because some of these are a little racist for the nations and other things. Things change every time is the point. Same with Japanese. You have a J, and if you twist that next to your eye, that also used to mean Japanese, like you were ratcheting down the eye to make it more of a flattened out, a slant, you know what I mean, etc., etc. So that brings me to the other point. Dated a lot of different gals, a lot of different ethnicities on the internet because I want to talk to people about shit that reflects reality, and I want to get your juices flowing, and I want you to fucking think for yourself. I still complain about this because I was hung up on her. But I came so fucking close to nearly marrying a half Japanese gal, just in terms of the ethnicities. The other part to this, and the reason I said the Ireland stuff is I've dated a number of redheads. I've dated maybe not all, but most ethnicities. A good majority is what I should say of the the assortment. For the assholes out there, who I've had a lot of people throw out racist shit, just random shit, just on the cuff, because they don't want to hear things and they don't want to fucking think about them. That's really the bottom line. So that's part of why I rattled off what I just rattled off. I had something else I was going to bring up. I also mentioned redheads because they will burn in the sun, as some people know, because Ireland doesn't get that much sun and they're genetically predisposed to this, so to speak. I spent a lot of time here in Portland hanging with a gal, fair skinned redhead. So fucking cool. She's so fucking cool. And that's an understatement, mind you. But anytime I was going out skating with her, same difference. I was afraid I may end up burning, and she was very afraid of her burning. And sometimes she did a bit, and I felt really bad. And so we talked about the desert because she likes New Mexico. Yeah, that was some of my thoughts. I had something else having to do with, I keep thinking health basics because that's how I wrote it up in the in seminar 8, which is the most superficial one that I've been mostly talking to you guys about until people can show me that they can reason shit out, and then I'll show you other stuff because I'm sitting on nothing but fucking answers. But health basics, it just cracks me up. I don't like how I worded it, but that's how I think of it now. Part of what I'm dancing around too, there's something really fucking cool having to do with reality and how we work that I want to show people, but it's something I shouldn't leave online. And it relates to this subject matter. It's something people don't know. It's something you're not supposed to know. It's something that you're never going to be spoon-fed, most likely. I mean, if I don't leave it online, somebody doesn't steal it, and then corrupt it. People probably won't figure this out, not in this lifetime. And I'm saying that based on what tracks. You don't see people sorting shit out. You really don't. You see a lot of people that assume that they are. And this is when people probably would say, well, you might be assuming that you are. In some cases, that's possible. In other cases, it does nothing but sing to itself. And I could prove to you that it's fucking neat. But it's tricky. When I'm not going to spoon feed that to you right now, neither of us bridge that gap. So that goes nowhere. And I understand that. The bigger point to appreciate with what I last said in terms of not giving you something you fucking want, I do still give you guys a lot of stuff. And in the past, I gave you a hell of a lot of stuff. And people just took me for a fucking ride. Most, not all. There's still some good people out there, but most people did. And that's unfortunate, but that's how people work. Usually. Alright, I probably should digress again. Maybe I'll come back and record the other stuff if I remember it. Part of it did have to do with the ethnicities again. I was thinking about my family members. I was thinking about past girlfriends friends, etc., etc. And it bled into something else, but now I can't think of what that is. And that's funny because shitty puns come out of me usually at the worst possible times, on the subject of me possibly bleeding out. I'll leave you with that for now. I remembered one of the things I was going to say about health. So, in terms of the spectrum again, and I keep throwing it over here, I probably should put it on this side, but so I'm also trying to cook food and I'm all over the fucking place. Most of you would probably say, put the phone down and fucking do that, and I probably should, but I'm a Pisces. So, you got blood clotting, which most people are totally fucking freaked out about. If you don't have enough vitamin K in your fucking blood, in your system, it's very similar to how you feel with a heart attack or a fucking the blood clotting issues. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is what I've partially been dealing with. So on and off, and it's come in waves. And for a while, I was thinking I got too much potassium in me. I thought, and maybe some of these things too, to varying degrees based on kidney filtration, and your adrenals and your liver and your immune system. I want to stress that, in tandem with your lymphatic system, which drags out the waste, mostly the mucus and stuff, and that's subject to inflammation based on your diet and your environmental setting. So, what was I just thinking? I had it. So I was having pressure and pains in my chest, and I couldn't figure that out. Some in my arm, but more so the last 4 days. This is when I got closer to that, and again, I'm doing it this way, the opposite of a blood clot. So I thought I was having a blood clot or something along those lines. I was like, something's fucking happening. Another thing that can happen is if your kidneys are failing, renal failure and all that stuff can run all the way up, the corridor to your heart and fucking kill you. My birth mother, she only has one kidney, so I thought maybe it's also genetic to some degree. Could be. They keep saying no infection, no sign of infection, kidneys are cool, blah, blah, blah. So it's something else. Most likely. So I do have high cholesterol, like I said. So I've been going on fasts, I've been eating differently, etc., etc. I did not realize that a number of foods that I was eating promote thinner blood. It doesn't thicken the blood, it thins the blood. So technically, most of the foods that I've been eating have been facilitating this, which is why it steadily ramped up, and why my right arm started feeling really, really tight, very fucking strange, and it made me think that it was a blood clot, which it's not, because I did a test for that as well. Again, the doctor said, you're healthy, you're not going to die in the ER. That's what they're going to tell you anyway. If you're not dying on the spot, they want you gone. And they're pretty much done talking to you. They have a foot out the door if you're in a room. If you're sitting in a bed in the hall, which is what I was doing, and I didn't expect a room, that would be ridiculous. He was pretty much done with me anyway. But again, he didn't tell me eat vitamin K, you know what I mean? He didn't tell me anything was wrong. So most people would continue doing what they do. Most people probably wouldn't look into things, because most people do what online? They just repeat what the last asshole said. This is scary, and this could fucking kill you. This is why I want to stress that. As well as everything is based on moderation. It's all about this middle ground. It's all about not being polarized, and the same applies to fucking health. Because it's a binary system, but it's all about walking that narrow path. Now, this is where some people would probably argue in favor of being non-binary and other retarded fucking shit along those lines. Just think about it. Please. Pretty please. In the event that you're a Muppet. Yeah. Because I'm right. I'm not right about everything, but I'm right about that. Yeah. So I thought I'd rattle off some of the things in case you guys ever go through this shit. Go in, get a lab, have them at least test that stuff with the INR or whatever it was, or it's INA. It's one of those. I can't remember what it's fucking called. And it just tells you if your blood's thin or thick. That's all it is. And then adjust your diet, I think, is what needs to be done, at least to alleviate some of the issues and to stave off the major issues. I mean, I was just holding the phone with my right arm, which I probably shouldn't do right now. But last night, I ate a buttload of broccoli, not too much, but I ate a lot, and it started making me feel better. It did, fast. It made me feel a lot better, because most of my right arm was feeling like shit. And it's because there was too much flow in there. I can't think of all the names of rivers and other crap like that. It was like a pipe. There's too much pressure in the pipe, or PSI, or whatever, as people call it. I remember fucking around with, it was a high pressure, people probably online probably know what these things are called. I can't think of it. Air was pumped through a hose, through a little nozzle, and I used to fill up tires in my dad's garage with it. And it had a lot of fucking pressure to it, to where it could bust your skin. If you put that shit to your skin and you pulled that little trigger, it could break the skin open and fuck you up. Yeah, that's my point. And I could feel this stuff in my veins, and that was the creepy thing. And I've talked to doctors about this stuff a lot. None of them have known what this could possibly be. And yet, in terms of the human body, it's not rocket science. I kept asking them if it was something having to do with veins or arteries, you know what I mean? The flow of blood, because that's what's going on. And I kept saying, usually that stuff does have to do with, your kidneys and your adrenals. And they're like, no. So I said, well, then it's my heart. So I went and got my heart checked out and all that other stuff. And they're like, your heart's fucking good. And I was like, thank God. Because I was worried about that. The tricky thing with this is, if you keep fucking doing shit like this, could fuck up a valve. And that's one of the things I was worried about. So, I mean, it could do that, which is why I have to, balance these fucking scales. Go easy. I just don't want anybody else to have to go through this. And with the Western diet, it's too easy to do this. Yesterday, before I went to the ER, because I thought possibly my kidneys, were fucked and all the other stuff, I went and I picked up, and this is ironic, I went and I picked up, these aren't, I didn't get fresh blueberries, but I got a bag of, not candied blueberries either. And I got some cranberries. And that's what I took to the ER with 2 apples. And the apples, as far as I know, are cool, but the blueberries and the fucking cranberries facilitate blood thinning. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Strawberries are part of that list, and a number of others. You got to be fucking careful. You really got to be fucking careful. And it's a slippery slope if you just think that you're eating health food. You're eating the healthy stuff. You really got to look into it, make a list, and weigh the pros and cons based on what you're going through, which means you got to be able to put your finger on the pulse and start to address what you're going through. And the chances are you're not going to be told what you're going through, because Western medicine, it's a fucking crock of shit. Yet again, here's an addendum. So think of that spectrum of blood clotting and thick and thin. Just think of thick and thin. Thick denoting blood clotting, and thin being, snot. Bleeding too much. What was I going to say? So, on one side, you could think of potassium and magnesium, and on the other side, you could think of sodium, crudely speaking. And you need the magnesium and the potassium to counterbalance the sodium, crudely speaking. There are other elements involved, but that's roughly one of the things you need to also think about. Now, the tricky thing is I have eczema currently. Some of it's a lot better than it was based on diet and just junk like that. So I've been trying to reduce my intake of sodium. And you probably already can read this, which has also facilitated what I'm going through. I'm trying to also find something I have magneted to my door. As it reads, sodium toxicity affects the nasal mucosal immune system, which may lead to respiratory viral infection. I also have had too much snot. Now it's a lot better than it was. There's another thing I wrote down, but I think it fell off the door or it's in my wallet. Roughly what it says. What does it say? I had it a moment ago. That one talks about the mucosal lining. Oh, the other one says something along the lines of people who have eczema have 30 times, I think it is. Maybe it's more than that or less. You can look it up. Either way, they have a lot of sodium in their system. So I've been limiting my intake of sodium for the most part. Also, bear in mind, the sodium's going to affect your blood flow. It will acclimate to whether it's thick or thin and balance some of this out. But according to Google, it also says if you take in a lot of salt, supposedly it will help promote blood clotting. So remember, sodium's on one side, magnesium and potassium are on the other. Roughly, but this is where it gets tricky. The magnesium will also help blood clotting, but the potassium won't. So if you're eating a shit ton of bananas, which I was, that will also make your blood thin and run. You know, it's going to be like snot if you do too much of this shit. And I was taking in a lot of potassium. Not too much, but probably more than I probably should have. That can also bog down your kidneys because it's going to take a while for it to process that. The other bit to this that you guys should appreciate, in the event this video isn't deleted by the fucking Nazis at YouTube, is, what is it? Potassium lingers. I can't backtrack, otherwise I would, and I'd show you guys potassium, magnesium, wait, what did I say? Sodium, magnesium, potassium. I'd show you that again. So the sodium's gonna linger in your body longer than the magnesium and the potassium, and you need to appreciate that. It's another factor you gotta balance out. The older you get, people don't do any of these things, for the most part. I mean, most people don't think about this stuff. And this is also going to shave off time in terms of everyone's got an expiration date, including myself. It's going to trip us up. I mean, we all die and rot anyway. But if you want to, drag some of it out, and live your best life, quality of living really is what it comes down to, you should start thinking about some of this stuff. You should teach other people to think about this stuff. I mean, kids should be raised with some of this. They really should, because if you understood how your body works, you'd understand how the system works. Because these things do factor in a number of ways. I mean, how do these foods grow? Where are these things coming from? There's so much more to this. Some of it's painfully simple when you do simplify it, because I keep stressing, keep it simple, heathens. But I am rattling off a number of really shabby angles in this disconnected video. And I hope somebody takes something away from it and it helps you. I hope it helps you in some way. I do mean well, even though a lot of people probably assume the worst of me, because most people aren't very fucking bright. Yeah. Somebody could yell at you and treat you like fucking dog shit, but if they are telling you not to do something that is fucking stupid, where you're fucking stuff up, and technically where you potentially will fuck yourself up or somebody else, doesn't have to be positive vibes only to be good. Fucking think about it.